Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Neil and Chris. I am still root tootin' because of that guy that made apparently I do this every time I do an introduction, and somebody said rootin' tootin' Neil or something.
Golly.
So I'm rootin' and tootin', baby. Mostly because of whoever that dude is. But thank you. Hey, we are in week 2 of the FBI challenge, where we're working to pass the FBI qual, and then I've got a whole boatload of cool prizes lined up for a specific winner. More of that to come. But we're going to talk about what this week's assignment is before we get into it.
Lucky Gunner is my recommended trusted provider of freedom seeds for range or defensive use. In stock, good prices, and rocket fast shipping are why I go back again and again. Because of new guidelines, I can't link their site or say it, but you're smart and you can find it with a simple Google search. Stick it to the man by paying them a visit today.
This week, we're going to start and end like every other week with a benchmark if you have your Mantis X. If you don't have your Mantis X, it's okay. You can still play the game. You just don't have the data that you're going to get if you have the Mantis X. But once you do your benchmark at the beginning of the week, and hopefully you're doing this 5 days a week, and it's going to take you 10 to 15 minutes a day, then what you're going to do is you're going to go into open training, or you're just going to do basic dry fire without your Mantis for about 100 trigger presses. Let's say 80 to 100 trigger presses, just getting out, seeing them. That's going to take you close to 10 minutes. And then we're going to shift over to strong hand only, or primary hand only. You can do the primary hand only stuff in Mantis. There is a drill for that. There is a whole setting for that. If you don't have that, then you're going to do it without the Mantis, and that's completely okay. But what we're going to talk about briefly today is what does it look like when we do one-handed shooting, and some techniques for you to consider, because there's some different ways to do it, and I think we all do it. There's several of us do it a little bit differently and find success in different ways. And again, there is no one way to do this. There's lots of good ways to do that, and we have to then make whatever fits you get you there. Right. So let's talk only.
So especially for me, and if you guys have watched any of my videos on the channel, I always talk about trying to understand and interpret the behavior of the gun. So I don't think there's really a perfectly right answer for any shooter to actually handle a gun. There's better ways and potentially worse ways, and there's one size fits most ways. So really with strong hand shooting, I'm pretty sure I do it different than a lot of people, because the first thing I see a lot of times when people go single-handed is they'll change their feet. I don't do that.
I do. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't do that when I go to weak hand either. I just stay where I was, because really for me, why do I need to do that? Well, if the gun was more stable when I did that, I would. So for some people, they're equilibrium. So obviously for you, if that's what you do, there's either a confidence thing that it makes you think it's more stable, or it is indeed more stable. Both things are valid.
And I think, to some degree, it goes back to what we learned. And when I first started doing one-handed shooting, the instructor that told me was like, well, if you're shooting left-handed, put your left foot forward, and then the hand in the fist in the chest. So you guys see me do that all the time, so it's a natural feel to me, and I have pretty good success with it.
Yeah, and it's repeatable form for you. That's kind of the key. Once you find a technique that yields you the result that you want, unless there's a compelling reason to change, and normally when you find a compelling reason, the gun's going to tell you that there is a compelling reason to change. So that kind of lends me, if we're getting into the hands and things like that, I've got this
check it out,
really cool thing that I just got my hands on about 10 minutes ago for the first time. And this is the Mantis Titan X trainer. And so this is like a laser trainer with a removable weighted magazine and a trigger that actually feels like a trigger. So that's interesting. So that's another thing altogether, but I'm just geeking on it for right now. But what I did is I've set this up for a laser on all the time. So hopefully you guys can see that, and we'll talk about just the hands. What we see a lot of times are people are talking about thumb positions, and if that has a significant impact, canting of the gun, if that has any kind of significant kind of change in how the gun's going to behave. And the answer is, I don't know what that gun's going to do in your hands. Now, if I'm watching someone shoot, that's one thing. But really, your sights are going to tell you everything, and in this thing, the dot will tell us some stuff. So I personally have like a thumb neutral, thumb up, and what I'm trying to do is grip front to back, and I have a slight cant. And that's just how I'm comfortable. It puts less tax on my shoulders.
Yep.
So if we look at that, that's a relatively stable dot. And if we start actuating the trigger, that's pretty stable. And I'm not looking at my sights, but that same thing, that red dot there is going to be very close in behavior to what my red dot's going to be doing. But if I do a thumb low,
crush grip is what some guys call that. Yep.
And let's see what that does for me. So we have a behavior change.
Yeah, you can see a movement.
Now, is that dramatic? No, but it's enough for me, someone with my level of attentiveness, where I'm like, oh, it's driving me crazy.
Yep.
So what I urge you to do is, if you have a laser trainer, if you can get one of these, if they're on market, get one of these, or look at your dot.
Yep.
And if you're going to make changes, make the change in relation to the feedback or behavior you want to get out of the gun. So another thing, when I shoot freestyle or two-handed, I'm a little bit further extended than when I'm shooting kind of just single-handed. I'll have more elbow bend just to absorb a little bit more of that, so my shoulders aren't doing it.
Yep, yep.
Because I've got torn up shoulders. But there's a bunch of little things where it does kind of drive me crazy, where like, if you do this, this will yield you this result. And that's just patently false. Yep. So that's why I try and say, try different things and figure out what works the best.
Yep.
And then once you know that, the gun's going to tell you all day.
Yep.
You know, if that's going to work for you. So I think you, since we've got this laser on, like, show them your method.
Okay.
And then
so I've got one of these as well. Hey, these are trainers, guys, so when we're waving them around.
Yeah, they're not real.
Yeah, these aren't real.
Pieces of plastic.
That's what these are for, so we can do this kind of stuff. So I like, you know, in shooting right-handed and left-handed, one-handed is different for me.
Sure.
So when I'm shooting right-handed, one-handed with strong hand, I do like the foot forward. My right foot is a little bit forward. I make a fist here, because then I get that sympathetic squeeze, so I get more better grip out here, and then I flag my thumb high, and I can press the trigger. Now, just seeing these sights, I can see them moving a little bit, but when I put my hand down, boy, they move a whole lot more, or my thumb down. Another thing that you can practice with is the thumb forward, and Again, I like to give credit where credit is due, but I can't remember where I learned this. But I had an instructor one time think about reaching your thumb for the muzzle, just pressing it straight forward. There are a lot of people that like that. I do not get good results when I do that. But so you can do a crush grip, thumb down, a thumb flagged high, or the reach forward, and you can do it with both hands. And what I find to be interesting, because I took a class, I feel like this was like a Scott Genelinsky class at one point we took, and we shot like 50 rounds with this hand and then 50 rounds with this hand and the thumb. And with my left hand, I do better with the thumb reaching forward. And so it's a different in both hands.
Yep.
You know, I found that I have better results if I'm just pressing forward with that thumb. And I'm not a great left-handed shooter to begin with, but I do have better results like that. And again, I step forward with my left foot, my hand in here, and I'm leaning into it. So
yeah, and that's where the situation dictates the technique. As simple as that. But what I find interesting is we have a very, very different approach. I think strong and weak hand, yet can yield a similar result.
Yep.
Because we're not in the same body.
Right.
And that's the thing I wish more people would think about.
Yeah.
You know, now there's weird, very strange ways to do things that probably aren't yielding what you think they are.
Yep.
But once you start understanding how to interpret the feedback, if it's doing what you need it to do,
right,
and it's not causing you any issues, why not experiment with it?
So here's the cool thing. We did an introduction video on this a couple weeks ago, and then we did the first week and gave you a week to get tuned up. This is week 2, where we've already given you the instructions of what you're going to do. We're going to up the ante a little bit, and because we're doing this with you, this isn't just us telling you to go do this. We're going to go shoot it on camera too. So what we're going to do is, if you are an app subscriber to the Asp Unlimited app, at some point during this week, you're going to get a notification that one of us is live, and we're going to go do our 10-minute session live, and you can join and do it with us and follow along. It's not going to be an hour-long video.
No.
We're not going to, we'll probably do an introduction, give a couple minutes for people to show up.
Yep.
And then we're going to do our 10-minute session, so you understand what it looks like when we're doing it, and you can do something like that. Now, if you want to play with your thumbs, if you want to play with your feet, that's all stuff that you can do, and I think it's completely acceptable. We're probably, I've already decided this is what I like, so that's probably what I'm going to do. You don't have to be me. You don't have to be Chris. You get to be you, but you get to at least see what it is that we're doing with this.
But I think what we would commit to do is I'll talk through my process.
Sure, exactly.
For sure.
Yep.
And like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Your mileage may vary, but you can try it too.
Yep. So it's probably going to be a 15-minute live session that we do. But if you're an app subscriber, you can come join us for that and see what it's like. The comments will be on, so you can talk with us and interact there if you have questions. That's just for the app folks. I get it for everybody else. I'm just not going live on YouTube all of the time because we got bills to pay too. So, hey, that is week 2. You understand hopefully you understand what it is that you need to do. If not, hit the rewind button and go back to where I told you what to do. Get to work, have some fun, make sure that you're getting ready so that you can go out and shoot this thing here in a few weeks and get in on this prize that we're giving away.
And thanks for putting in the work.